Well, good day again. Today, as you can see, I don't have my bass on, but we're going to have a little chat of what it means to prepare yourself for rehearsal and for playing live on your Sunday. As a guy who gets to lead worship once in a while and played on a lot of teams with a lot of people, I've taken in a few things over the years, and I would like to share a bit of that with you. First of all, most churches use Planning Center or something like that to communicate with their musicians and artists. So what I do is I go on their master list on Planning Center, and I actually go on iTunes or wherever, and I purchase each song that they have in their playlists. So if your church doesn't have your playlist down to, I don't know, 25 to 40 songs, really encourage them to do that because it's very tough for artists to have a constant influx of new material. And you shouldn't be doing that to your congregation anyways. You should be introducing stuff slowly, but you should have your list down. I usually say about 25 songs that I expect everybody to know. Any more than that becomes a little bit unreasonable. So when a new one comes up that I'd like to put in, I have to choose one that we haven't done in a while that's going to go out. So that's kind of how I see that. So I purchased a song and I put it in my playlist. So I listen to it over and over and over again, just so I'm super familiar with, where my instrument, doesn't matter if you're playing, piano, guitar, bass, whatever, where I'm in, where I'm out, how the flow of the song works, how I can input into that song musically with my instrument. I don't want to play it like I'm, campfire guitar, giving it. I want to play a part and make it musical. So that's how I'm listening to the song. What can I do with the players that I have to make that song sound musical? Okay, so Planning Center should have a master list. I purchased the song, I put it in my playlist, so I'm super familiar with it. Then, once I'm familiar with it, I'll either write out my own chart for it. As I've said before, I use a number system, so I'll quickly just grab my bass, figure out what key the original song is in, and then I will go ahead and make myself a number chart with that. Or I can just go purchase it for a few bucks off of praisecharts.com and save myself that step. And then once again, it's a lot about listening to the song. So once you've listened to the song a bunch of times, then you get an idea of how it's going to ebb and flow with your guys. And then I learn the song, and I probably play the song. Man, if I don't play it 20 times, that would be, when I'm learning it, that would be not giving it its due. I played it at least 20 times, even though the first time through, I probably play it fairly well. Because there's something that happens between, playing at home in your little room and then playing in front of 1,000 people. There's a difference there. You need to know it, so that when your in-ears are in and your click track starts, you're ready to go. So you need to know it. The other thing that I try and do as a good team member is to show up to the rehearsal knowing the song. I know the song. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to play. Now, a lot of that comes from your leadership giving you the tools so that you can know it in time for the rehearsal. They have to be organized enough to have a master list and have your set list out to you early enough where you can actually show up prepared. If they're sending them to you the day of the rehearsal, if you have great players, maybe that will work. If you have the average guy who needs a little bit of time to polish this up, that's probably not going to work. So have an early listen, have a master list, know the song, go through it. You should really know every song on your church's list. And then when you're ready to go for your rehearsal, show up knowing that song. Rehearsal is not for learning the song. Rehearsal is for you playing your part and listening to what everybody else is doing to make sure that there's enough space in the song sonically that everything is kind of fitting, that people aren't, the guitar player, it's not stepping over the piano player's part. They're not both not doing arpeggiated parts or whatever stuff that's time technical that's overlapping. It's your time to listen while you're playing, to hear what everybody else is doing. And if you're a guitar player, you're listening, or an organ player, you're listening to where you can have that little slide, or with a guitar player, a little fill, or the bass player, a little thing, right? You're looking for your spot. And that's a time during your rehearsal, you can point out those spots. Hey, Mark, my organ player is Mark. Hey, Mark, how about a little thing through that little section right there? How about you give me a little something? And he already knows what to do. He's a great player. And, so that's what it's all about. It's pre-preparation, knowing your stuff, going through it over and over and over and over again. So it's imprinted on your brain. So by the time you get to rehearsal, you can play through that song, and hopefully even at that point without your charts. I would take it with me at that point. But by Sunday, by actual play day, I'll tell you what my chart looks like. My chart has the song order. It has, beside the song, it has the key that it's in. And it may say intro 1-4-1-4. Like I'll just say I for intro, V for verse, 1-4-6, whatever the pattern is of that. And then the chorus, I might have, 4-6-5, back to the 1, whatever the progression is, that's all right on there. And typically, I'm not looking at that to tell me how to play the song. I'm looking at it in case I'm playing along, and all of a sudden I go blank, right? My mind is on something else, and I'm worshiping, and it's like I need to be able to glance down at 1 second and see what that progression is. That's all. If I'm trying to find that on a page, that's going to be a problem for me because I have to find out where it is. So I just have those quick, little notes on there that I can see from standing up. It's not that little. I make them bigger because my eyes are not that great. But I make them a little bit bigger so I can see it. And that's all the information that I have. And if there's changes in the song where, one section it goes down to back to a 2, and the other section it goes up to a 6, or whatever the case is, I should already know that. Those little notes are just in case I just blank out in the split second, I can glance down quickly and get that information and carry on. Typically, I never look at it. I just look at the key as a reminder as to where I'm starting, and then off we go. Okay? So be professional. Show up ready to play, because here's what happens if you don't. So back in the early days when, I was playing with guys who were, just trying to do their best. They weren't necessarily professional musicians. And you'd show up to rehearsal and they didn't know their stuff. And so say that's on a Thursday or a Tuesday, doesn't matter what day it is. As a worship leader, I would spend the next 5 days sweating, thinking, what if these guys didn't do their homework? What if they don't show up ready to play? It's not a lot of fun when people have mistakes, because when people are playing properly, everybody's in the mix. Everybody's got their spot. I don't have to worry about ducking people out the sound guy ducking people out because they are playing wrong notes. They should all know their stuff. So when they come to rehearsal, days in advance, knowing their stuff, as a worship leader, or your worship leader will go, oh, these guys are awesome. So typically now, I only play with guys who are awesome because they make my life so easy, because they always show up ready to play. As a matter of fact, a lot of the gigs that I do now with our little band of brothers that we do, we don't actually have a rehearsal before. We know all the songs that we do. We have our list of 20 songs. Everybody knows how to play them. We basically just do a little sound check. Hey, you guys, let's just zip through a couple of these, and then we let it flow. So it's a real privilege for me to play with guys who are so great. But do that for your worship leader. And if you're a worship leader, give your guys the tools that they need to get their job done so that they can be prepared and be great for worship. Thanks. Hope this makes sense. Hope there's something that you can take and put it into practice with your team. Thanks.